confuse the enemy, and also we're going to go into a little bit of spiritual layers and where we're at, metaphysically and esoterically speaking. But Michael, thank you so much for joining me. How are you, and what have you been up to?
Doing great, Nick. It's great being back up here. I'm back in Lake Tahoe in the Nevada side, so it's fantastic. I'd love to go back to the California side, but taxes are too high, and the government is so corrupt that I can't support it.
Of course, no, it is very high, especially California. It's a liberal state, and we've got a mutual acquaintance, Lewis Herms, that we're
Yeah,
supporting, and hopefully he will be a successful candidate for governor.
I hope
Um,
so.
yeah. You mentioned property taxes. Is it true? I don't know if this is true, and I just wanted to run this past you, but it is Florida. Have they abolished property taxes in Florida?
Not completely. They've talked about it, and they're moving in the right direction. I guess it's some bills have gone through, but overall it hasn't completely gone through. And I remember they were saying that it would be up to each different county based upon their school systems, because that's where a lot of the tax goes. Of course, it's corrupted, and I think so many visitors come to Florida. They have plenty of money coming in. They don't need to do any property tax.
Of course, no, absolutely. Well, we hope they do get rid of it, because if they do, I think that will be the first state that would see in America no property taxes, and this would set the path for other states. Other people would start saying, "Well, hang on a second, we're moving to Florida," or how is it that Florida's allowed to do it and we can't? But then on the contrary, we're seeing Mandani in New York raising property taxes. We've seen the opposite discussions over there regarding property taxes. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean that's the liberal, like you talked about, the liberal mindset. If they want to give everything away, it's I saw this one woman, this comedian. She was talking about her black lab, and her black lab, gets everything, and it was kind of funny the way she termed it. She called him a liberal dog. Uh, so they want everything for free, and it's communism. But eventually, communism collapses. We've seen that throughout the world. It never goes forward. I don't know why they're trying to push something that doesn't work, but always with communism, the people at the top do really well. They become billionaires while the rest of the people are poor, can't afford anything. And a lot of times things start to collapse, social systems, the amount of food that people can get. That happened in the Soviet Union. They couldn't grow crops anymore. So, Americans came in. I talked to an American that actually went to, after the Soviet Union collapsed, they invited farmers from America to come over and help them learn how to farm again. They used to be the breadbasket of the world at one time. So now that's changing back. So they can support themselves, and they're, starting to produce at the level where they can export. So that's one of the things that happens in a liberal state. So another one, a great example, is Colorado. So Colorado tried to take President Trump off the ballot, and to reward them, I call it the FAFO, to reward them for that bad call, which also Maine and other states were looking at doing. I think maybe even New York, taking President Trump off the ballot. Of course, he wouldn't be able to win that way. But congressional, law or vote, and that never happened. So Colorado got spanked by President Trump. He took away $1.2 billion in federal aid, and now what are they going to do to accommodate for the loss? Because they want to continue to give money away. They're going to tax the rich, of course. So just like in California, the rich are leaving California and drove. The same thing in New York. So you're not going to have the people that produce and have the put people to work and so forth, and that's why communism never works. It eventually collapses.
And that's what we're seeing. Absolutely, we're seeing that right now, and people are waking up. We're seeing a lot of systems collapse, and a lot of people involved in communism are probably 98% of them. I don't know if I'm exaggerating here, but please, you tell me. They probably have some kind of involvement within the Epstein list. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's That's another thing because a lot of those people, like I said, benefit from communism because they're basically stealing from the poor. So they tell the poor that they're going to be provided for by the rich, but it actually is they're stealing from the poor to provide to the rich. And yeah, a lot of those people that are in the that are being exposed, and the exposure is starting to gather momentum. And I think President Trump was genius at this in misdirecting, and that made everybody want the Epstein files even more because they couldn't have it. So he's like, "Why would you want the Epstein files?" They asked him in a press conference. Why would you want the Epstein files? There's nothing there. And so, of course, then they're like, "Oh, yes, you're in there." And of course, he's in there telling the police that Jeffrey Epstein needs to be looked at because there's some criminal stuff. And at Mar-a-Lago, he Jeffrey Epstein was excluded from ever coming back to Mar-a-Lago because he had been approaching women and doing very bad things. And so uh, some people actually told Trump about that and that work with him. Mel K is one of them. Mel K actually was working in Mar-a-Lago there, and she was talking about that. I did a show with her. She said, "Yeah, we told President Trump, and or he wasn't president at the time, and he said no more, Jeffrey Epstein on my property. So he's excluded ever from coming back again." So
Yeah,
that's what we're seeing. They're
yeah.
trying to, just like they did with lawfare, take President Trump out. Now that lawfare is going to start to be turned back against them. So the more that is exposed to Jeffrey Epstein files, which is coming, it used to be a drip, drip, drip. Now it's starting to come. It's starting to come faster and faster. Garden hose and eventually fire hose, which is going to just blast them.
Absolutely. And I just want to let people know that just because people are on the Epstein list doesn't mean they're guilty. It means that they've hired the jets, his private jet, privately, independently, not even knowing who Jeffrey Epstein even was, because this was before Jeffrey Epstein, was famous. But yeah, he was a member at Mar-a-Lago, and he was blacklisted by Trump when he found out that he was taking his staff to groom them, and then Trump. I think Trump was the only person that was giving information to the FBI because no one else would, and he's the reason why Jeffrey Epstein was arrested. But then we've got the Julian Assange as well with the leaks. With WikiLeaks, with hidden, what was it called? WikiLeaks, yeah, where all the information. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more that's coming. These files, these different leaks that are coming out, they've been planned. So the planning of the amount of leaks that come out and and the timing of the leaks, basically exposes these people, and then they can be eventually, we hope, prosecuted. We've seen some of it happen in other countries, in UK, former Prince Andrew. And then in the Denmark, I think there was a couple former prime minister or something that's been arrested. But will they eventually go all the way and put these people behind bars? I think probably former Prince Andrew would commit suicide before that happened. But that's just my guesstimation. So we may see him do that soon. So just keep that in mind. But if you look at all of these other people and the coming ET files that are going to be released. So these are all things that the elite have been able to suppress for a very long time. In the Q files, they said we have everything. So it's when you look at all the Jeffrey Epstein files and the video that's going to come out pretty soon, the pictures are starting to leak out. The video that comes out is going to be very disturbing, I think, for a lot of people. I haven't seen any of those videos, but I've heard about them, from behind the scenes and people talking to me and actually being around some of these very high elite levels when I was working for Ambassador Bremer and the CIA. I would be, doing security for some of these people, and you start to hear and see things. These guys are on a different program. Their corruption is at a level they've been protected, and they are raised in it. for generation after generation after generation. So it's very normal for them, and they're protected in it. Anything that leaks out usually gets suppressed, or it's like, oh, that's ridiculous. It doesn't mean anything like that. But we're going to see that more of these people are going to be exposed, and I think justice is just around the corner. Now, justice in the United States, we have the bar, the British Accredited Registry for lawyers. I think that's going to go away. I think everybody that's a bar lawyer will have to go and do common law. And the reason why that is because it's basically you're not connected to the United States government. You're working for a foreign entity, and that's illegal under I think it's the Article 14 of the United States Constitution. I have to look at it again, but regardless, there's in the Constitution it says if you are working for another government entity or against the United States, then you can lose your U.S. citizenship. So I think a lot of those people that are in the bar are going to want to go become good lawyers, common law lawyers, which will basically collapse this deep state, judicial system.
Absolutely. And what if they don't comply? Because if they're American citizens and they lose their citizenships, then where do they go?
Well, I guess, a lot of people are leaving the United States. I don't think they're going to be able to run and hide, but especially if they're have done something seditious and that's another thing. I mean, there could be a practicing lawyer doing their work, and that's, everybody does it. Doesn't mean, once it's like, okay, you have the opportunity to go from a bar lawyer to a common law lawyer where we can start to prosecute people correctly for the United States and for the United States citizens. Not against them, because that's the way that the system is working right now. It's against us. So we have to collapse that system and start a new one. There's 600 JAG officers for military that are standing by, that are getting ready to move and take over a lot of these judge positions. Or judges going to go away as well, that are corrupt. So any seditious behavior throughout all the judicial system is about ready to be collapsed. Military tribunals come in. I would say this is probably going to start before July 4th, because the celebration July 4th has to be really good. So what would be an incredible celebration if we take it down this corrupt judicial system and start taking out the people that have done evil against us for a very long time?
I would love to see that. Now, I want to go back a little bit to Epstein because I want to pay respects to Michael Jackson, because Michael Jackson has been accused by the media and the judicial system, and have completely discredited and destroyed, or attempted to destroy, his reputation, which they failed, because they accused him of being a pedophile. But actually, he was siphoning children away from being trafficked from Jeffrey Epstein's island into Neverland. And the reason why they failed destroying his name is because I believe that energy doesn't lie. And those people who watch Michael Jackson, they look at his eyes, they listen to the words that he chooses, the way he speaks, his presence, his stillness. You can see that this man is an authentic, loving, caring man. And I just wanted to put that out there, that he'd done fantastic things. He'd done a lot for children. And the media is very quiet about that. And I just wanted to put that out there. Do you have anything to say about that, Michael?
Yeah, I did a security there was somebody getting married at Michael Jackson's ranch. It was during the time frame where they were coming after him for child trafficking. He was being accused. So I was at the ranch doing security, and I got to fortunately talk to everybody. I got to look around. That ranch was made magnificently for children. They had a movie theater where they could bring in children that were on gurneys and so forth that were, probably close to death, unfortunately, for whatever reason, or recovering. And they could come in, they could watch movies. And Michael Jackson, of course, being very high up, would get first dibs on some of the movies before they even came out. So he had like all these things. He had like a fairground, Ferris wheel, and all kinds of crazy stuff. Everyone that worked with Michael Jackson on his ranch They all loved him. They spoke very highly of him. There was no, impropriety, I believe, that was going on. Now, I've listened to a lot of people. They sound like when Oprah Winfrey brought out a lot of those people. I was like, that's very suspect. But a lot of people came in and vouched for him. So I've been back and forth with whether he was guilty or not. I feel at this point that he was innocent and that they did because as more information comes through, they targeted him. And because I've been targeted now and I understand how the targeting works and I've seen other people targeted. And so I understand, he was definitely a targeted individual. I think Michael Jackson's still alive. I think he's out there. I think he's writing music. He's helping other artists and so forth. I hope that doesn't, make the deep state want to find him. But of course, we have an Elvis. I think maybe that's an Elvis impersonator. I think Elvis is still alive too. Maybe Princess Diana. So there's a lot of people that basically go into witness protection program. We've heard that they call that Valhalla. So a lot of these people go to Valhalla. Many people have talked about it. So I think there's, some of these people at some point will be able to come forward and speak to who has been a problem. Michael Jackson was talking about that. He was talking about the evil that was happening within the music industry. And I think they, decided they're going to take him out. They found that out. And it's like, okay, we're going to fake your death and, get you to Valhalla. So that's kind of what happened with Michael Jackson. So yeah, many people like that. Misinformation about good people, proof and truth about people that are, so there's a mix that goes on and people get confused. But I think the confusion is starting to, get narrowed down and more people are starting to see the truth.
Absolutely, especially now that his music is resurfacing with "They Don't Care About Us,"
Yeah.
"Jumi Sumi," and those things. It all makes sense now,
Yeah. Yeah.
with his what he was trying to express, and it indicates what he knew back then. But really interesting. I just love Michael Jackson, and I just want to say, if you have doubts that Michael Jackson maybe was a pedophile or he was doing heinous things, then he would have been protected back then. He would have been protected by the media, by everybody. But obviously, thanks to WikiLeaks, we are seeing the true criminals being exposed, and they're doing everything to hide it. And we're entering a new earth now where this old guard cannot exist in this new frequency. And it's going to break down. It's going to be exposed. And we're here witnessing it. And it's a great time to be alive, isn't it, Michael?
Oh yeah, fantastic.
So let's talk about the attack in Mexico that I don't even know about because, yeah. So educate me. What's happening with Mexico?
Well, in Mexico, there's basically the cartel. There was a major cartel member that was killed, along with I think 7 or 8 other people. Unfortunately, there were like National Guard Mexican troops that came in. I think 24 of them were killed. There's fires that were started. Puerto Vallarta was very nice area in Mexico. They shut down flights. They told people to stay inside their homes. I think they're getting to the point now where they have control of the situation. Now they're saying in news articles that the U.S. helped them with intelligence. Of course, the U.S. has incredible military capabilities, so they were able to pinpoint where the cartel members were, and then they did a strike on them. So Claudia Sheinbaum has said, because President Trump has offered for U.S. military to come in and help them, and she has denied that at this point. Now, if things start to accelerate and get to the point where it's so bad, I think that what we'll see is U.S. military will get involved in Mexico, and that'll take out the cartels. Because I have been to Mexico the last several years. Fantastic. I think they have turned around Mexico. It has great capabilities. A lot of Americans want to move down there, buy and stay down there. I would say wait a little bit, right? Because these cartels are going to have to be cleaned out. And I think whether Claudia Sheinbaum or the Mexican military gets overwhelmed at some point, if it really gets to the point where it's obvious that they need help, then the U.S. military comes in and they will really hammer down on them and take them out. So that's gonna happen one way or the other. Whether U.S. military gets involved or not, the cartels are going away. But the problem with that going, striking at the beast within the heart of the beast is that the beast has tentacles all throughout the United States. So we'll have to, and I think that's what ICE has been doing over the last, year or so, very aggressively going after the worst of the worst. So I think a lot of these cartel areas have been, decimated, taken down within the United States, the leadership and so forth. But there's still a lot that's here. And I just talked to a guy just recently that's into the child trafficking scene, overcoming that. Our CDS, which is basically CPS, with Child Protective Services, they are part of the trafficking, and that's being disclosed. So many of these problems are being exposed, but all of the hundreds of thousands of children that came across the border when Biden was in, or maybe Biden, maybe not Biden, was in office, that was supplying the American pedophiles with what they needed. And America is the number one pedophile country in the world. And so now that that's been shut down almost completely on the border, now they're coming after children in the United States. So, this guy that I had on recently said, you really need to start to watch your children really hard, because now they're getting desperate and they're starting to snatch children in the United States now.
And that's probably because they're becoming desperate, because the United States military is clamping down on trafficking and cartels, like you mentioned, in Mexico. And I think the reason why it's important to clamp down in these cartels in Mexico is because they're obviously trafficking a lot of drugs into America and causing America to be unhealthy, unsafe for families, and corrupting America. What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, and that leads right back to Jeffrey Epstein with the trafficking too. In his ranch in New Mexico, there's evidence that a lot of children were coming into that, being disseminated throughout different areas. In New Mexico, they had the largest Catholic monks, whatever they're called, priests, whatever. That were doing pedophilia. So there was like in the world. And I don't think that they're saying the world. I think that's because it was exposed there, and they were caught. So, was Jeffrey Epstein involved in that? I think that possibly could come out as well. So the connection with, religions and so forth. I've seen this in the Middle East. The religions in the Middle East, of course, Islam, are very, very aggressive with child trafficking, unfortunately, and abuse of children. So I think this is something that's going to be exposed as well with the Jeffrey Epstein files, the religious involvement. We haven't seen that so much yet, but I think that's coming.
Absolutely. I feel like religion is there to divide and conquer, and religion hijacked true spiritual consciousness beliefs and implemented them into a structure that causes, divide and fear and obedience and sacrifice, because love doesn't require sacrifice.
Very good. And it's just like the political system that Jeffrey Epstein was tapping into and manipulating, controlling. So it would stand to reason that the religious system is involved as well.
Absolutely, which is a matrix distortion, in disguised as spirituality. But absolutely, that's another realization I think a lot of people are going to have a rude awakening to, possibly.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of our viewers are already aware of this.
I think so.
Yeah.
And, it's, spirituality, connection to God, can come from many different sources, many different religions, of course. But like you're saying, I think, so many things are hijacked. Of course, religion is hijacked as well. How deeply it's hijacked might be very surprising to people. As time goes forward, the information comes out faster and faster. So I think we're going to see pretty soon.
Absolutely. And even spirituality itself, if it is a label, really. I mean, I would say if we were to go beyond that, I would say, what's the truth?
Yeah,
Just what's the truth?
that's
Really.
what we look
Yeah.
for. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the truth? Yeah.
So let's talk about the regime change in the USA. Did we cover that one?
In what capacity?
You mentioned that there's before we started the show, you said the regime change in USA, and then we were going to speak about the alien reveal, about Trump's alien reveal. What's that about? Do you think he's going to really reveal it, or is it
Oh
optic?
yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely going to be revealed, and that's the ET stuff has been suppressed for a long time. I've been involved in that, and that's the closest I think I've ever come to being killed because I was and all I was doing was just validating someone else's was disclosing. I've had people I know over the years that have disclosed and they're no longer with us. So that is one of the most heavily suppressed areas, I think, aggressively suppressed. There's no jury. You're just if you're disclosing on ET stuff and you're getting close to something that they're protecting, they're going to take you out. So some people are allowed to disclose some things, I guess, and so we've had a little bit of drip over the last several decades, many decades really. But now we're going to get to that point where the faucet's going to get turned up, and the garden hose is going to like get turned up, and the fire hose eventually starts to come out. So that's what's definitely going to happen now. Regime change. I'm not quite sure what I was referring to back then, so I can't
sure. Yeah,
remember. So
yeah. No, that's very
maybe in
interesting.
regards to someplace else, but we're seeing regime change, I guess, throughout the world. Uh, President Trump was part of that regime change. They suppressed him and tried to take him out, from being, the political figurehead that he is. And he's obviously very deeply involved, knows a lot of stuff himself. But being able to speak and take down this deep state, part of the deep state is a major part is the ET involvement. So the ET has given them a lot. The deep state, the New World Order, however you want to term them, a lot of high tech capabilities. Anti-gravitics. They take advantage of a lot of that stuff. Uh, you know, moving from one point to another, like you see in Star Trek. Where they go through the one and they end up somewhere else. So they've got those transporters. That's the kind of stuff that I think that the White Hats have started to take over and suppress to a great extent. Although I think they still have them and they still use them on an unlimited basis. We've seen it, when they burned L.A. and when they burned Lahaina with the direct-to-entry weapons. But going forward, we haven't seen as much of that. We didn't see as much hurricane involvement this year or last year. Remains to be seen what's happening next. Seems like there are still manipulations with weather that are going on around the world. So, how much of that is natural and how much of it is manipulated? We're going to see a lot of that. So, regime change for people that are in positions of power that weren't properly elected there. I think that's what we're going to start to see. So the election, the 2020 election here in the United States, when that is basically starts to come out, and Tina Peters is, I think, soon to be freed. She will be one of the ones testifying and exposing that. And when that gets exposed, then we'll see the Biden regime as ineligible and illegitimate. So everything that he did, from appointing, Supreme Court nominations, it goes right, and all the other stuff that he did with the auto pen signature, of course, all of it goes once we find that election was stolen, and then we start to look at the states, stolen election in states, and those people go, and then we start to look at around the world, stolen elections. Because there's probably 100 or more different countries that have had stolen elections. Because this is, New World Order around the world. So that's going to be fantastic. These regime changes that are going to happen, and then we're going to get people in there that will do or like it's supposed to be, the will of the people, not the will of the deep state against us.
What are the chances of, or do you think that we might find fraud evidence of every single administration, even before Biden, the Obama,
Yeah.
and before that, in the Epstein, in WikiLeaks, where it invalidates what they've signed off, which
Hmm.
can undo the corruption or undo regulations, giving more people freedom. Do you think that could be a possibility?
Absolutely. And then we'll see as that starts to accelerate the fire hose effect, we'll see the like CIA, MI6, Mossad, and FBI, all these different agencies that have been, going against the people. So anytime anything like that seditious behavior around the world, not just in America, but there's laws against that around the world. All those different organizations that have been involved in that will start to get shut, and they have to because they've been involved with the deep state, and unless that's cleaned out, they'll continue. They're just continuing their operations right now as we speak. So they'll continue to come after us until we take them down. So the more exposure, the more people that start to get taken down. We see that yeah, Starmer is not. He shouldn't be there. I mean, I think that's a good indication that once that's revealed, he goes, and then all those mayors of London, because they're trying to push this agenda for the Muslims, because the Muslims are more easily controlled than the rest of us. So they want the Muslims to come in and take over. So we may see when we have the eventual, I think there's going to be an attack to replace the regime of Iran. So they're not going to willingly go because President Trump is like, stop your nuclear program, and then you guys are in charge, need to step aside. They're not going to. All right, so they're going to have to be removed. Now, how quickly that happens, I think we're going to see it. It's going to happen very quickly because I've been involved in a lot of those over time, and no one can resist the United States when they set their mind to what they're going to do. It's going to be over very quickly, and then a cleanup operation, and then we're having the people that are going to come in and start to do the right thing. Now, around the world, we have these Islamists, and I think America has been, and UK, the rest of Europe, have been very heavily, illegal immigration, where we've had terrorists that have come in. So we have these terrorist cells that are around the world that I think once Iran gets hit, then they're going to activate. And we're going to see a lot of mayhem in our cities. And that's just my thoughts. But, I think we need to be prepared about that. I don't think we are. And that's part of the process. They've suppressed a lot of this, and that's through a lot of the agencies that are all in cahoots with, making this happen to destroy our infrastructures and so forth. We're probably going to have, good people stand up and do the right thing. And I think that a lot of good people will, because we've seen this throughout time, where we've had, instances of this throughout the world. So America is only 250 years old on July 4th, but there in Britain, you have thousands of years of this. The rest of Europe has had thousands of years of this. I think it's time for this old system that seems to keep creeping up to be removed, and removed for good and forever.
Yeah, we just hope now that this is the threshold that we're entering now, the end for them, the end times. That's what it
Absolutely.
is. I feel like the Biden era that you guys had, that caused a lot of people to question, the media, the government, big pharma, everything. I feel like Keir Starmer is our Biden era in the UK.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, and I think we were one step behind. And I'm hoping that this Epstein domino effect that we're going to see now with Prince Andrews and forth and so on, that Keir Starmer, Sadiq Khan, is all going to, it's all going to be connected, and it's all going to bring down the system. I hope and I think. Yeah. So what's happening with Israel? Because I think Israel has gone very quiet. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if I'm just not seeing it. But what's happening with Israel and Gaza right now?
Well, Israel's done really good work, I think. And of course, just like in the UK, just like in the United States, and just like around the world, there are good aspects and there are bad aspects. So in Israel, it's the same thing. Israel was created by the Rothschilds, but there are good elements within Israel, and I think that some of those elements will maintain going forward. The evil elements that we're talking about right now will absolutely be removed, taken out, and so forth. And so, why are they quiet right now? I think they're building up for the next big move, which is going to be the takedown of Iran. And that's they had to use a lot of missiles and stuff when they were fighting Iran before, and those missiles have to be replaced. But like I said, Iran's done a really good job of taking out Hamas, Hezbollah, and also ISIS. All right, so all of those different terrorist cells have been decimated. We can see that because there were so many people that were demonstrating in Iran. That never would have happened if Hamas was still powerful. Now, I still think they brought Hamas, people in, and that's why we've seen, like President Trump said the other day, upwards of 30,000 people that have been killed in Iran in the protest. So, those numbers are going to incite the populace to really, once they get the turn, which could happen with a good U.S. strike, taking out the leadership, you'll see, the populace turn very quickly, which, happened with Saddam Hussein in Iraq. So Iran basically was controlling Iraq, and we came in and basically decimated that. And the same thing's going to happen now in Iran. So it's a domino effect. It's taking time. Iran was going to be the nuclear power of the deep state. So they could, threaten the rest of the world if they got out of line. So that's being eliminated. The reason why President Trump wasn't elected, he didn't stand up. He didn't stand up to the military and so forth. Is because we knew there were many nukes that were all around the United States. They found a bunch of them, but there was still one. So they decided to stand down. So this is a very, very evil, group. So they have to tread very lightly. So, like I said, once they hit Iran, then you're going to have activations of all the terrorist cells around the world. So it's going to be, they have to be ready for that. And I think that build up, what we're seeing right now, because America could have gone in there a long time ago and hammered the leadership in Iran, remove them. But what they want to make sure that around certain areas, it doesn't spread. So it can spread, and I think that's why the U.S. military has been very quietly building, Israel's defense and so forth. And we'll see a very big strike, I think, very soon, probably within the next week or two.
Interesting, very interesting. When you said that they've been quiet, they're building, they're doing this, they're waiting, for me, it just sounds like theater. It's like, oh, they're not up yet. It's not their turn, And it's just funny because they were so busy a few months ago, with everything that was going on. Bibi Netanyahu was filling up the headlines, and all of a sudden, he's gone to the restroom for a. He's gone to the dressing room. It just feels so scripted to me, and I just find it hilarious how they're just so quiet now, and he's nowhere to be seen. But it's interesting. But Michael, thank you very much for sharing everything with us today. I really appreciate your time. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
I always say, stay in the love vibration. It connects you to source, and it keeps you calm and cool while things are going to get crazy. And if you get into fear mode, unfortunately, that basically leads you into where they want you, and that's where they control you, the deep state. So stay in that love vibration. It gives you the insights, gives you the intuition of where to be, where not to be, and you'll survive through this very, very healthily. You won't survive, you'll thrive. So that's my call to everyone. Stay in that love frequency.
Absolutely. Stay present as well. Thank you, Michael. We'll speak very soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Nick.